Welcome to my Canadian Music in the 80s and 90s A channel and my YouTube channel. Today I have the privilege of talking to Mr. Mike Trebilcock from the Killjoys. Thank you for joining me today, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Um, so you're still in Hamilton, I guess. You guys are a Hamilton band.
Yep, still in Hamilton.
Okay, good stuff. Where did you start with music? Like what age were you at when you were like, I got to do more than just listen to music? Like I want to start learning an instrument, or and what was it you were listening to that made you go, yeah, I gotta do this?
Um, I- I've always sort of been, as long as I can remember, I've been um, interested in music. In
Hmm.
fact, my mother, to get me to help do the dishes, used to promise that we could harmonize if I helped her with the dishes.
Right.
So that's something that I was probably, I don't know, very young, like 6 or 7 maybe, helping with the dishes and harmonizing, being bribed by harmonies.
Hmm.
So that she knew that I loved singing and harmonizing. And I've seen report cards that say that I would often get up and sing my own songs in front of the class. This is grade 1. So I don't have any recollection of that, but it's there in report card form. So I guess it really happened. So even before I can remember, in fact, I've been sort of heading towards musician territory. Um, uh, Me and the drummer, very early on, the drummer from the Killjoys,
Hmm.
very early on were playing together when I was maybe 10 and he was 9, like 8 or
Hmm.
9, something like that. So we've been playing together for many, many years. Um, and that was we grew up in Stony Creek. We went to the same schools, or well, we went to the same uh, uh, later on school anyway. That we
Hmm.
we didn't go to the same elementary school, but we still played in a band when we were that age. So yeah, it's been a long, long, long time.
So who were some of the bands you would ever, what music would have been like, you know, you would even kind of caught your ear when you were growing up? That
When I was a little kid, it was Burt Bacharach songs
right.
over and over again. My favorite songs, and when I found out in later years that they were all like Burt Bacharach songs, like Alfie and Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head. I think that was Burt Bacharach as well. So the kind of those sort of pop songs that were on the radio at the
Hmm.
time. And this is when I was very little. Um, uh, so I had a few favorites then. And of course, at a certain point, Kiss sort of took over
Okay.
everything, and that was a big influence. And I think the spectacle of the whole thing, and being a kid and being into horror movies when I was a kid too, I liked.
Right.
You can see the things on my walls here. That
Right.
I was very into Godzilla and the Universal monsters and all of that sort of stuff that went with it. And Kiss and Alice Cooper both
Hmm.
sort of fell into that category as well for me. So mixing, horror and rock and roll was a big deal to me. So
And when did you start, like, kind of like you said, you knew the drummer? It's Gene, right?
yeah,
Um, when did you guys start, like, kind of forming bands and maybe start?
that's when we were 10 years old, like 9, 10 years old. And we figured that we couldn't, that learning songs would be too hard, or I figured that learning songs would be too hard. So we
Right.
learned a couple, but it was too hard. So I ended up just writing songs instead, which seemed like a way easier way to go than learning covers. And I've sort of been, writing ever since. That sort of approach ended up serving me well. But um, yeah, I guess I had a little bit of formal training. I went to Mohawk College eventually for
Okay.
music, and so I do, I read and write music the official way as well. But when I learned, it was just through just writing and figuring out how music worked
Right.
by writing it.
Because I've read that you do more than just playing bands. You do like scores and stuff like that for television or movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, mostly movies
And
these
are you
days.
still doing that today?
Yep, yeah, I'm still doing that. Crabs was one I did recently.
Right. Okay.
I did one that's playing in Germany uh, right now called The Fight Machine.
Okay.
Um, and I've done a whole bunch of other ones. I did things like uh, Ouija Shark 2, which
Oh
did
wow.
pretty well in Japan.
Yeah.
And I just did one that I can't even say the name of yet, but it was sort of another wacky idea. So all different types of movies. I did a sci-fi called Neurovenge. Um, that's will be out soon,
Right.
and so yeah, but they all lean towards that horror I was talking about.
Right.
That horror scene. That I'm doing one called Kaiju. Speaking of Godzilla, like I did.
Yeah.
It's a giant Japanese monster movie, uh, filmed in Japan, but it's not Godzilla. It's a different. It's a
Right.
new kid on the block. So I
Very
hope that
cool.
does well.
So you must still enjoy doing that because you keep doing it. So
I love it. Yeah, absolutely.
I guess
In
the one
fact, I
question
think
sorry.
before I went on the road, or with the Killjoys, before that it sort of started taking off,
Right.
I had done a couple of TV shows, and this was going to be the trajectory that I was going to follow. Was going to be music for movies. Basically, is what I wanted to do.
Right.
I used to, walk around with a Sony Walkman and listen to The Fly, audio only, like with dialogue and sound effects and music all
Right.
together. Just listening to how it all comes together. So
Right.
really into scores and really into to doing this. And then I sort of went off in a different direction, obviously with the Killjoys. So I feel like I'm sort of back on track in a lot of ways. So
When did things really take off with the Killjoys?
I think it was well, we put out the first record in '94,
Right.
and so I would say about '94 it was sort of immediate because when we were even independent,
Mm-hmm.
we were getting a pretty good following. We were touring a bit, London, Toronto, Ontario, touring sort of stuff.
Right.
So we were building a following, and we were being played on CFNY. I think even before the record was picked up by Warner. So,
Okay.
but we were a band before that as well. We were a band called the Monday Nuns, and so
Okay.
we were playing. They had songs on college radio, and again, we're touring just very slightly as that band, but so it was kind of building steadily the whole time.
Right.
And then I guess, when that record came out, that '94, I believe, was when Warner picked it up. So I would say when Warner got involved, that things really took off. So
I mean, my biggest memory is that video for Today I Hate Everyone. I don't know where you found the girl.
that was
To
the director's niece.
oh, it was probably the most perfect video for a song I think I've ever seen. Just the look in that girl's face, triking down the street there. Like,
Yeah,
it,
it was
it
pretty great.
you couldn't ask for a better video to go with a song like that. Like, and I'll
Absolutely.
never forget it as long as I live. Like, it makes me laugh, but it's so appropriate. Like it was it was brilliantly done. Like, and I guess that really got you going too, because Much played that quite a bit for you, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's thanks to Andrew Hunt. He was the director who
Right.
found, got his niece involved and directed the video. And
Hmm.
he now runs Raven Banner, which is a big distributor of horror and sci-fi and
Oh, okay.
strange movies. And and he directed the Fight Machine that I recently did the music for. So we're still in touch, still friends, and
Good.
so that relationship is, carried on over the years as well.
That's awesome. One question I always asked, I used to watch comedy at Club 54.
Yeah,
Was
yeah,
that you?
that was me. Yeah.
That was you, because I always said the music at the end, and I was like, that can't be the same guy from the Killjoys, and I wasn't sure, and it was. So,
Yeah, same guy. That's what I was saying before. That was,
hmm
man, that was late '80s, I think.
Yeah.
that show, and that was going to be my trajectory that I
Hmm.
thought I was going to do. I was heading towards movies. That's what I really wanted to do.
Right.
But so yeah, that I did comedy at Club 54. I did Canadian sport fishing.
Okay.
What was it? Canadian sport fishing adventures, I think it was called at the time.
Okay.
And I I think those were the two. I was going to do a movie that we didn't quite squeak in the door, but it was called To Catch a Yeti. We did some demos for them,
Okay.
and I think Meatloaf was starring in that.
Oh, really?
So that's on Tubi TV right now. You can see To Catch a Yeti if you're interested. But
I might look that up. I have Tubi, and I watch some stuff on there once in a while. There's some interesting
they've got
selections
some
on
great
there.
stuff. Yeah, stuff
Yeah.
you can't find anywhere else.
Um,
So that was so then after that just a couple of shows, 2 or 3 shows, we were on the road, and yeah. So when I got back, I started sort of getting back with some of those connections and started getting
mhm.
back into the field again. Uh,
Now, when
but anyways, yeah, that was me.
that's great. Um, Now when the Killjoys took off, you guys really started. You guys were really getting. You guys had quite a following there for a long time, like
Yeah.
because you were getting like there were. Well, I mean, a lot of Canadian bands were really starting to get a lot of attention. I guess maybe around 93, 94, and
It
you
seemed
know,
like there was a lot of support,
yeah,
and I mean, the record companies were, I think a lot of it, the whole grunge thing was happening around the same
right,
time, and we weren't really involved in that. I don't, we weren't really, I wouldn't call us a grunge band by any stretch, but
no,
we were more of a power pop sort of band
yeah,
with some punky roots because we loved the Ramones and things like that as well. Um, and so, but I think a lot of bands benefited from the sort of grunge era because the
right,
guitars were kind of back because we had gone through
yeah,
a big synth era in the top of at the top of the 80s scene.
right,
We were all listening to the bottom of the 80s scene, the underground stuff.
right.
And when the 90s came along, all that stuff came to the surface.
Yeah, it seemed to be more edgy, and
So, so
like you said, the
more
guitars
edgy,
came back.
guitar based, yeah. And so a lot of the record companies in Canada were looking for guitar bands and grungy guitar bands. So we just sort of lucked out along with a lot of bands at that time.
But I always thought you guys stood out because you had such amazing hooks to your songs. Like, I mean, they were just so catchy, but you delivered it with a really good punch to it, and I think that's what appealed to a lot of people. And it was great live. Like, I mean, I've seen you guys live a few times, and it just had such a great live vibe to it. It's
Yeah, we're always we do play games in the studio a little bit, but
yeah,
we are conscious of the fact that we're going to be doing this live, so we try to keep it toned down a little bit and try to keep it to the it's a 3 piece, right? So, and when I'm playing with the 3 piece, I've got sort of tricks to fill up all the space as well.
right,
Fill up all the sonic space with like using harmonics and mutes and playing all the strings all the time.
yeah,
Even if you're playing a solo, I'm always playing all the strings, right?
right.
So it's to sort of keep the energy up in a live sort of situation.
But you guys are really in the mix with all the other Canadian bands. Like, I mean, a show that they did every year at Canada Day at Edgefest up in Barrie, I remember
Yeah.
seeing you guys there, and you were right there with all the other
Yeah,
top
we did a
Canadian
lot.
bands.
We did a lot of edge fests.
And did you like doing the festivals? Did you get a chance to like chum around with some of the other bands and make some friends that way?
Yeah, a little bit. I think sometimes when you're on those big festivals, it's sort of like if you're touring as a band, that's sort of your team,
Yeah,
your touring band. So you sort of we sort of stuck to ourselves maybe more than we should have because
right.
I do wish that we had gone out and met more people, but we sort of stuck to our own little orbit. We had our bus and
Yeah,
we sort of you know stuck to our team sort of thing. That's sort of what it's like. Um, but yeah, we did have a great time. I loved all the festival stuff. Um, the fans are great. Everybody's excited. It's a fun time for sure.
And like I said, I really think it seemed like Much Music was a big help to you. And I was talking to Bill Welichka the other day, and just saying how Much was very supportive of any Canadian band. It seemed.
Yeah, they did a great job, and I'm sorry to sort of that it's not really the same as it was. I mean, lots of
Right.
things aren't the same as it was, but that was it was a all of those things together. The record companies
Yeah.
pushing forward, the bands pushing forward, that kind of media, like Much Music, CFNY, everything seemed to be all pushing forward at the same time. It was like a big machine that sort of got a lot of people noticed.
Oh, it was great. It just, like you said, it doesn't seem like there's a vehicle for that anymore. But I
Yeah.
guess the internet's a great way to get your stuff out there
For
still.
sure.
Like,
The problem with it is there's no it's splintered a little bit. Like the
yeah,
audiences are fractured. They're all over the place. So there's no big giant push in the same direction
right.
like there was at that time. Which I don't know which is better really. I mean, maybe it's better to have access to anything you want, you know.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be getting an interview with you back in the 90s under the way it worked back
No, it was
then.
a lot more difficult, and touring was more difficult because it was like you didn't have cell phones, you didn't have the internet. You
Right.
were it was like being shot into space. You were really kind of on your own. Um,
Did
now
you do
I've
a lot of
toured.
the did you do a lot of the recording on your own, like, or did you do some of your own, did you do your own demos and stuff like that, like,
Me myself, you mean?
yeah, like with the band, like, did you guys record your own stuff, or did you?
We had a lot of time in the 80s and early 90s. We had
Hmm.
a friend that was playing bass for us for a while, and he had a studio in his basement,
Right.
an 8-track reel-to-reel
Right.
studio. So we got to experiment a lot at that time in the studio, just working with just how many harmonies we can do and bouncing and how we can double guitars and
Yeah.
them on either side, and just recording techniques that we were really lucky to be able to experiment with. So we never we would sort of go into the studio after jamming the songs. I would do demos on a cassette
Okay.
tape thing, and I would just play it and sing it. Sometimes I used to have couple of cassette players so that I could have the other cassette player. I would play along and sing and record harmonies or
Right.
extra guitar parts and record those, and then so it was bouncing back and forth between the cassette machines. So that's pretty old school, primitive recording style, but that would get the idea down anyway. So that's what I would bring into the band, and then we'd jam it either in sound checks or wherever,
Right.
rehearsal halls.
Because you must have had, yeah, I mean, you did all the stuff for like movies and TV shows, so you had some kind of idea how to do some stuff on your own already
Yeah, yeah.
before the band even started.
The Yeah, and even recording for movies and for TV was
Hmm.
a lot different than it is now. There was no you couldn't. I mean, you'd have to time everything out. There was a lot of math,
Yeah.
even to get a delay, like a timed delay. It was all pencil and paper, and you could get books with charts, that would tell you how many seconds,
Right.
uh, uh, just how to line up the music with the film.
Right.
Uh, so I never really had my own studio at that time. It was always the sort of real demo
Right.
stuff. I've got my own studio now that I'm able to work at. So
In terms of band stuff, like, I know the technology is very handy and it makes it easier to get stuff done, but sometimes do you just prefer to just do it live off the floor, like all three guys in the same room and You know, because getting the feel off each other. Because that's what some of your records felt like back in the 90s when you guys were around. It felt like you guys were just recording live off the floor.
Yeah, we did a lot of the time. Yeah, I mean, at very least, that's how it started. I would overdub the harmonies and some extra guitars and things, but the core of the band was always always live off the floor.
So those are like real drums, real guitars, real everything at the basis of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think they're sweetened a little bit sometimes. There
Yeah.
would be I think it was only Gimme Five and Milos Motos where there was some sweetening with samples on the kit, but yeah, it was mostly just live. And there was also, I don't even know if we played with a click on the first two records.
Okay.
It might have been just, feeling the flow of the moment, right?
Right. Did you guys do a lot of playing around Hamilton, like when you were in your early days, like before you got signed? Like,
Yeah, definitely. I think we played the Corktown a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with Hamilton.
I'm very familiar.
Well,
It was almost a second hometown to me growing up. Even
oh,
though
nice.
even though I lived in Mississauga, I have fond memories of Hess Village, and
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember the sidebar.
I do. Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember going in there, and the bartender used to hand out guitars to everybody, and we just have a big jam session in there. And it wasn't a very big spot, as you probably remember.
yeah.
But there were some great
Yeah.
bands in any bar in Hess Village on any night. Like it was
Yeah, the Gown was a
the
big
Gown
band
and
place at the time.
the
It's
Gown and
mostly dance sort of clubs now, but
yeah.
there's live. The Lazy Flamingo still has live music. The
Oh,
Mask closed down.
I haven't heard the Lazy Flamingo in a long time. Oh, I loved hanging out down there. It was just such a fun spot, especially in the summer when you could sit outside
Yeah,
on
nice.
patios and hear the bands. You know, you
Yeah,
could hear a band in one bar and kind of hear one off in the distance of another bar, and you're like, "Hey, let's go see them. They sound pretty good."
yeah.
So,
Yeah, there was 33 Hess and the Mermaid, and
yeah.
there was
Oh,
a
it's
lot
just
more live music back then.
oh for sure. It was, but it's I haven't been in ages because I don't live in Ontario anymore. But you're saying it's changed quite a bit, eh?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, the whole
Right.
music climate has changed, so it's changed along with it.
But I mean, I saw they have a Hamilton Music Awards. Like I saw it on CH one night. That's kind of nice to see that.
Yeah,
You know, you know, there is a pretty good solid base of musicians that have come out of Hamilton.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Like
definitely.
I guess Junkhouse would be right up there, and maybe
Junk
Ian
House, yeah.
Thomas has gone back a long way.
Yeah,
He's
Teenage Head.
Teenage Head. Is Gene still playing with Teenage Head?
He is, yeah, yeah,
Okay, because it seemed every festival I ever went to in Hamilton, Teenage Head was playing.
yeah. They've got, because Gord just died too, so they've
Yeah,
got Trent from Headstones playing with them. I'm not sure if they're going to tour that way, but they're playing with them a little bit. So, but they're still playing. And I played with Simply Saucer. I toured with Simply
okay.
Saucer, which is another Hamilton sort of legendary, great band. Um, uh, yeah, oh, the Forgotten Rebels.
Okay,
As
I
well.
remember them.
Yeah,
I remember seeing them at the Roxy in Barrie
yeah,
back in the old days. That was a long time ago. I'm showing my age now, by the way. I'm older than I look, I guess,
we both are.
but yeah. Um, but I also remember lots of fun times down at the Festival of Friends
Yeah,
down in Gage Park. Like that band shell was just a great place to see a live band. And
yeah,
did you guys must have played there at least once or twice,
yeah. Once or twice, maybe it's your day festival. I think one was called. I played
right?
that one. I don't know if we ever played the Festival of Friends, but I used to go there again. I used to go there as a kid and see Jackie Washington, and when it was
Right.
more of a folk festival.
Yeah, it's really grown up quite a bit. I mean, my first recollection was seeing Spirit of the West there,
Hmm.
and just like, wow, this is free. Like you don't have to pay to get into this. Like this is pretty amazing. And then wound up going back like every night
Yeah,
to see who was headlining down there, and it just turned into something I did every year. Was
yeah,
going, and I still did up until I moved here. because you'd see like Loverboy and Tom Cochrane and Junkhouse and
Yeah,
the Trues. Like,
pretty eclectic. Yeah,
yeah, and it was a free festival. Like, where do you get that? Like, it's just, it just seemed Hamilton really treasured its music
yeah,
over the years. So you guys are back together now doing stuff. I saw you had some gigs online coming up.
yeah. We just recorded, in fact, on the weekend. We did, and again, it was live off the floor.
Right.
The the uh, the initial tracks, anyway, and then we did a few guitar and voice overdubs. But so that's being worked on what we're gonna do with it right now. We're not sure if we're gonna put out a single or a EP. We're still just sort of thinking about it.
Would you be playing
Uh,
some of this new stuff live then?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're playing this weekend. We're playing Oshawa
Okay.
and we're playing Ottawa. So that's our little tour for this weekend. Kitchener the weekend after that. So
Could we see it expand more across the country if the demand comes up?
I really want to. Yeah, yeah.
Because I think you'd fit in well here in the East Coast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we sort of they were we did fit in sort of with the Halifax scene at the time. You know those bands
Right.
led by Sloan, I think.
Joel Plaskett and
Yeah,
Super
'cause it's
Friends
kind of
maybe. And
the poppy punk attitude sort of stuff that's going on.
Sloan was actually just here in PEI last Friday. So,
Yeah,
and they just put out a new record and it's great. I don't know if
yeah,
you've heard any of it. It's actually quite good.
yeah. No,
It's
I'll check
nice
it out for sure.
nice to see them still playing. And I remember seeing you guys play with the Odds.
Yeah, we were
Um,
there too. Yeah,
and that was like you just those old band shell shows down at the CNE were just incredible. Like to see two bands like you and the Odds on the bill was just it's
yeah,
you can't go wrong with that. It's a nice intimate venue and it's just great music and it doesn't seem like they do that much anymore. So,
yeah,
but it brings back a lot of memories and it's just Bill Welichko was saying about they don't really start treasuring a decade until like 10 years after.
that's true.
It
That's true.
seems like now people are looking fondly back on the 90s now.
Yeah,
So, but
yeah,
it's
there's
not.
even that '90s show on Netflix now.
Oh, that took over from
Yeah,
the
'70s
same.
show.
Okay,
That
yeah,
'90s show.
I have yet to watch it, but it looks like it could be
It's
interesting.
too bad they didn't use "Today I Hate Everyone" as their theme. That would have been nice.
Or hey, all you got to do is get your song on Stranger Things.
That's right.
By the looks of it, if you can get on
Maybe we'll
Stranger
start.
Things,
Have to start. I don't even know how you would get on Stranger Things.
um,
They'd probably have to find us, but
yeah.
we're available. Stranger Things.
Well, I did an interview a few months ago with Gord from the Spoons,
Yeah,
and he was on a '80s cruise, and a lot of the bands he said he was talking to said we should just put signs up at our shows that say "Use our song on Stranger Things."
yeah, yeah. Something's got to work.
Yeah, it seems to be an audience for that kind of music in that show. Look, I mean, Kate Bush is revitalized this year because of that show.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, there's some good Canadian shows out there to get your music into. Like, I mean, didn't the
Sure,
Odds do all the music for Corner Gas?
maybe.
I
I
think
didn't know
I think
that, but
I think they did all the music for they did the theme for Corner Gas. I think.
hmm.
Um, but I also found it interesting. Brian Adams was here this summer, and Pat Stewart is playing drums with Brian again.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like he's touring the world with Brian Adams again, and it's great to see him. He looks like he's having a good time. But he was one of my favorite members of the Odds back in the day.
yeah. The nice guys too, all of them.
Yeah, so it's good to see you guys back performing again.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so is there anything coming up in the summer in terms of gigs? Like, have you got anything lined up for the summer? Like any festivals?
There, not that I know of. I'd like. We do have an agent again, so
Right.
they're working on that. So we'll have to see what happens. They're booking already, so we should know pretty soon.
Yeah, I was
But I
gonna.
know we're playing. I think Peterborough, and so we're playing around here a lot. Um, so I would like to branch out though.
Oh, but
And like I said, it's coming up on the, well, I don't think I said this. It's coming up on the anniversary of, '94 when we put out
okay.
Sorry. So we might do something special for that. Maybe a re-release or something like that.
Has there been a vinyl release of any of of your?
We totally missed that whole
Yeah, I was gonna say
era. It's back now, and it was over when by the early '90s. So
because I saw Big Sugar is releasing some of their stuff on vinyl again,
yeah,
which seems kind of interesting. I'd love to see a vinyl release of Starry or Give Me Five, maybe.
yeah, we love that too. We don't. It's all in Warner's hands now, so we're not sure what they have up their sleeve. We'll see.
So anything
It'll
you're
be a
doing now,
surprise to us too.
anything you're doing now is pretty much independently.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, that's good because at least you have the control over what you want to do with it, right? So,
yeah.
but I'm hoping you guys get some good response from your dates, from your shows this weekend, and
They've been really fun so far. A lot of
great,
fun.
great to be back. And it's the same three guys still, isn't it? Just
Yep.
it's
Yep.
oh, it's great to see because you don't see that too often. It seems every band you go that from the old days, it's not even close to the original
One
members
guy.
anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it's
all
like
the
one
same
guy.
guy.
It's great to see the same three guys. Like I remember seeing Honeymoon Suite a few years ago, and it was four out of the five original members,
Yeah, nice.
which I was kind of blown away by. I was like, that must be hard to keep all those guys together for so long.
No, we nearly lost one there. We were Gene had COVID, so he was in the
Okay.
hospital in a coma on a ventilator and
Oh,
the whole bit. So
but
we
he's come
thought
back.
we thought he was a goner. So yeah, he's back. So we thought that was sort of the impetus of getting back together. We thought, well, do we really never want to do this again, or do we want to get
Yeah,
out there and just get together? Because it was a fun time in our lives. So
and
no,
it
we don't want to die without one more kick at the can anyway. So that's
and it
what we're
seems like you
doing.
guys are friends first. Like you guys are friends first,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
which makes I guess being in a band with two guys a lot easier. Two
Yep,
people a
for
lot
sure.
easier when you're friends with them. So
Yeah, we're friends. All the crew are always our friends too. First, they're not. We don't care if they're qualified or anything. We just, if they're friends of ours, come on the road and be a guitar tech.
right.
That's
Um,
that's our criteria.
so the new stuff you were recording on the weekend, when do you see that coming out?
We're not sure if it's going to be if we're going to add to it or if we're just going to do it as a single. I'm
Okay.
not really sure. I'd like it to be out soon. It might even come out. It might even coincide with the Starry release.
Okay, that'd
Maybe
be
it'll be
interesting.
slipped inside which is still, that's another year away. I don't know if we can wait that long. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to
it's
hearing it.
all up in the air, but yeah, hopefully soon.
I look forward to hearing some of the new stuff. I like hearing what old bands have to say with their new stuff. It's
Yeah,
kind of interesting because I mean, it shows you still have a passion for it. You still love doing it.
yeah, for sure.
So, anyway, Mike, thanks a lot for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Great
you.
to chat with you.
You too.
You guys were one of my favorite bands back in the day, so it's a real privilege to be able to speak with you like this.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
And anything you want to promote on my group or on my YouTube page, feel free to,
Okay. Yeah.
because
Uh,
that's what it's all about. I don't want to keep the memory alive of some of these great Canadian bands from the 80s and 90s,
yeah.
because I think it was
Yeah. There's yeah. We'll just have to keep in touch
for sure.
via social media.
For sure. Well, it's easier to do it that way sometimes, isn't it? So,
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
again, thanks very much, Mike.
Thank
Appreciate you
Thanks for
joining me,
having me.
and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Talk to
Bye
you
bye.
later. Bye.
Bye.